back. Joining me as our guest this week, Congressman Scott Perry, Republican who represents Dauphin, Cumberland, York counties, Harrisburg and its suburbs.
Yes.
People may not know you're also a retired Brigadier General, Army National Guard. You flew Black Hawks in
Iraq.
Yep. Thank you for your service.
Thanks, sir.
And one of the big issues for you is veterans, returning veterans, and all veterans really, but especially returning ones. PTSD, you've recently are pushing the Treat PTSD Act in Congress. What is that?
Well, let's start with the context. We're losing 20 of our service members a day.
Nationwide or Pennsylvania?
Nationwide.
Okay.
20 a day, still way
staggering
too many.
Number.
Staggering number, right? These are people that signed on the line, pledged their life for their country. Many of them saw things that most of us really can't imagine. They come back to the real world and they don't really fit in. We have treatments, but they're really generally ineffective. 40% find some kind of effectiveness, which means the majority don't. Now, we've come upon this treatment, stellate ganglion block.
SGB, as it's known.
Stellate ganglion block. It's an injection which calms the fight or flight sensation that many veterans that are suffering, anybody with PTSD, but we're talking about the veterans in this case, suffer. And so they can't get to the treatment to work because they got this thing playing in their head constantly, right? And unfortunately, it's only available in 11 out of 143 VA facilities.
None in Pennsylvania?
No. And so you got to travel. Right, and
but it works and it's approved.
It is approved.
It sounds a little weird. You get a shot in your neck.
Yes, you get a shot in your neck.
It sounds like a sci-fi movie.
But it's been around since the 1920s. So this is long. We know a lot about this, and we have veterans calling in from around the country saying, "Oh my goodness, how do we get to treatment? Thank goodness somebody's taking a look at this because it shows great promise." Now look. Maybe it's not maybe it doesn't work for everybody, but we're losing 20 of our service members a day, and if the VA isn't going to provide this, where are you going to get it? I mean, we kind of found out a bit PTSD through returning veterans from really difficult circumstances.
But it's been medically vetted, this SGB.
Absolutely. Yes, GB, yes.
And it does work for some.
Yes, it works for a lot.
And your point is, let's give it to them. Everywhere.
It's their choice, right? If they've tried everything else, or maybe they haven't tried anything else, but they're just tired of dealing with the demons and fighting with potential suicide, divorces, alcoholism. There's a lot of effects of being in combat that are not great, obviously. And so this is an opportunity for a treatment that has shown great promise.
You were a leader over there. You did a tour. You came back. Do you understand what the problem is? I know you've done a number of roundtables around the state with state lawmakers on this specific issue of PTSD and veteran suicide. What have you learned? State
lawmakers, the governor, and other veterans, the Guard, the different veteran service organizations, everybody's very concerned. What we've learned, among other things, is that we're not necessarily getting to where we're trying to do a lot of things, but we're not reducing the numbers very significantly, certainly not to any kind of acceptable range, and that there's different things work for different people. And different things cause the effects in different people.
Where's the bill? Do you have support on it?
Yes.
It seems to me that helping veterans should be Democrat. In a time in which we can't agree on anything, that is one thing everybody should agree on.
Well, one would think. The bill is open for co-sponsorship. It sits assigned to committee, and we're urging other members to sign up.
We had Anthony Corelli, head of the National Guard, here last week. He actually praised Donald Trump, that he actually promised to do more for veterans and actually has steered more money in that he's put the money where he said it.
Yes, he has.
Is that your experience as well?
That is my experience. Of course, this is required. The legislature requires.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And this treatment you're talking about, do you think is the president even aware of it? Have you chatted with him? Do you talk with the president much?
I don't get to talk to him much. He seems like a pretty busy guy, but when I do, these are the issues that I bring up to him because they're important to everybody.
You're one of the founding members of the Freedom Caucus, which people don't realize really was founded at a retreat, and I know I covered it. It was in Hershey.
Yeah.
A number of years ago.
Right.
But that's kind of where you guys got together and said, we need to do... What is the Freedom Caucus? It's obviously conservative.
Well, not necessarily. There are two requirements. You have to be able to get to yes. There's always a reason to vote no. You have to be able to get to yes, and you have to be willing to vote against your leadership. what we said as Freedom Caucus members is our leadership is back in our districts, not here in Washington, D.C. Oftentimes, on either side of the aisle, leadership determines a lot of the votes. And we don't, and of course, they have different levers of power to try and get you to vote the way they want you to. And there's some strength and safety in numbers if you have to vote against your leadership for things you disagree with.
And speaking of your leadership, I guess at the time was John Boehner.
Yes.
And he, since he has left, he had this to say. He said, they can't, talking about the Freedom Caucus, they can't tell you what they're for. They can tell you everything they're against. They're anarchists. They want total chaos. Tear it all down and start over. That's where their mindset is. What do you say to that?
Well, John,
and he's no longer the leader, obviously.
Yeah, I think obviously he comes to his opinion with a very jaded outlook on things. I think he blames the Freedom Caucus to a certain extent for his demise. He had to step down as Speaker, but there were many members of the Republican conference that didn't want him to be Speaker for a lot of reasons.
As we sit here, everybody talks about the great economy.
Yeah.
And the economy seems to be booming. The stock market is up. Unemployment is down. All the measurements.
Sure.
However, all of a sudden, a lot of people are scratching their heads and said, at what point did the Republicans abandon the concept of caring about the debt and the deficit in this country? And that seems to be run away, and that now seems to be bipartisan.
Yes.
Borrow away and spend a lot of money.
When you say now, one thing that Republicans and Democrats have always seemed to agree on is spending money that they don't have. And while people will say, well, you voted for the Tax Cut Act, I just want to let everybody know that federal revenues, the money we take in, is at a record level. But you know what's at more of a record level? The spending. The spending is the issue. You can't continue to spend more than you take in.
So we've got, well, first of all, you have a Republican president, and for a while you had both chambers of Congress were Republican. Now it's split.
Right. What
are we doing to stop that?
Well, I vote no on spending packages that are irresponsible, but I'm one of 435.
But they still pass, right?
I'm one of 435.
Okay. Much more this week in Pennsylvania when we come back. Stay right there.